Okay, so Be'ezras Hashem, I'm sorry about the audio. First and foremost, it's not as good on this computer, but we're going to be continuing with our weekly series of shirim on the Torah of recovery with the light revealed. And next week's class, we're going to try and go over a very simple idea that I believe rests at the core of the recovery process, and it also rests at the core of what Torah Chasidus is. And because we're entering into the holiday, the Rosh Hashanah of Chasidus, where the Baal HaTanya, the expression of these teachings on their most potent form, left prison so that it could be expressed further and further down to vessels that are even broken in the dust itself. And the expression and the unfolding and the outgrowth and the outpouring of Torah Chasidus, of the innermost teachings of what the Torah has to offer us, is ultimately merging with and unifying with the innermost point of what recovery is giving us and what we're trying to do in our lives. How to find the path in this world, how to find comfort in this world, how to go lifnim mishur sadin, how to see beyond the concealment in the world, how to see beyond the no and see the hidden yes that rests at the core of all things, how to learn how to say yes to life, how to say yes to the self, how to say yes to God, say yes to love of God, say yes to fear of God, say yes to an orientation towards a higher power, say yes to the other person, say yes to the possibility of connection and joy and simplicity and dveikus and sublimity and mindfulness and attachment and calmness and menucha and a present nature of being in this world. How do we say yes to all of that? That's the secret that the Baal Shem Tov HaKadosh came to the world to reveal. That when the hearts had grown so covered over and the minds had grown so exhausted, so we had fallen into a deep slumber of spirit. And in the slumber of spirit, the body rages. And those who keep watch over the slumbering body, those souls, those sensitive souls that are aware that there's something more, there's something missing here, there's a soul that's missing, they felt the pain most. Because if a person is never connected to the deep sense of life, then they don't feel the deficiency of the deep sense of life. But somebody who lives for the deep sense of life, the moment that it's not there, they're going to become dissatisfied, they're going to become angry, they're going to become resentful, they're going to be searching for something that is not present, and ultimately there's going to be an attempt to seek it out in other ways, Rahman al-Islam, God forbid. And so it's specifically the souls that keep watch over the absence of the illumination of God that expresses itself throughout every aspect of existence. When it seems to be taken away, it's these souls that feel it's missing the most. And so with the redemption of Hasidus, with the emergence of Hasidus, what happens is that this life-giving water for those who are seeking purpose and meaning and depth upon depth and allowing oneself to open up the abyss of their soul to call out to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, who rests on the other side of the abyss in the secret of Mima'amakim Krasicha Hashem, that I call you from the doubled depths, from the doubled darkness, from the doubled concealment, from the doubled hiddenness, I cry out. And it's specifically from that place within the hellish landscape of the mind, heart, or body that finds itself forbidden, locked away from the light of illumination that it so desperately needs. Yud-Tes Kislev, the opening of the gates, reveals the opportunity for all to come and drink from the waters of redemption, to drink from the waters of Liyeshuascha Kivisi Hashem, of hope. And this is what the Baal HaTanya says when he says that the souls of Hasidim, the souls of those who seek out Hasidus, and I see this as almost interchangeable with souls who find themselves in the space of recovery or possible recovery, addiction or potential addiction, is that these are souls that find themselves in hell. Because in hell, there's a certain refusal of the revelation of godly light, because it has to operate to a certain degree in order for the balance of this world to exist. And because there's no capacity to grasp godly light there, the craving grows and grows and grows. And the craving for spiritual satisfaction that remains unrequited and remains unsatisfied is the hell itself. And then when that time in hell is over, so that soul runs back into this world to try and drink up every last bit of spiritual illumination that exists for it anywhere. And those are the souls of the Hasidim. Those are the souls that seek out more. As we know that the day that the Baal Shem Tov HaKadosh was born, the fires of Gehenna, the fires of hell stopped burning. And the angels said to themselves, well, we need this equal balance. We need there to be the fires of hell in order so that light and darkness can balance themselves properly to make a theoretical playing space where volitional choice is still a possibility in the secret of the Dir B'Tachtonim, that Hashem wants to reveal himself with equal measures of concealment so that we can reveal his presence rather than him revealing his own presence, because that's where the novelty of it all comes out, when we can reveal him from down here also. And so the angels didn't know what to do, and they said, you know what? The air of Gan Eden has grown stale. So let's take the old air of Gan Eden, put it in the place of the old Gehenna, and draw new air of Gan Eden down. That the Gilui of the Baal Shem Tov was the revelation that Gan Eden finds its place in Gehenna now. And at that place, there's an awakening for all of those souls who find themselves in Gehenna to come out and enter into the true Gan Eden, into the new Gan Eden. The Rebbe of Baruch also said, he said, so what? Send me down to hell. I don't care. What I'm going to do is I'm going to climb to the rafters and I'm going to start saying Torah there. And immediately all of the Neshamos and all of the Tzaddikim from Gan Eden are going to come down and try and listen to my words. And at that point, it's going to be Nesapich into Gan Eden. The secret of the Suda of Lav Yasan, which is the revelation of the secrets of Torah and the secrets of the soul and the watery comforts that descend down from on high to irrigate the dried and parched out soul of each and every yid that finds itself in exile in this world. And it gives us the ability to drink from that water. The expansion of the tahom, of the abysmal depths of meaningfulness and connectivity. But it's hard to be in this world. It's hard. It's hard to be in this world that sometimes feels like a Gehenna. It's hard to search out for that radical infinitude of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's light and okayness and all rightness, especially when I live in a world that I don't see it in. And so this is the secret of Yaakov Avinu. Yaakov Avinu bikesh Yaakov leishiv b'shalva. Yaakov Avinu, after he had gone through all of the struggles, after he had gone through all of his processing, he felt that it was time for him to experience the secret of Gan Eden, of calmness, of menucha, of a light of all rightness and serenity. And miyad kufza alav rugza de Yosef. Immediately, the issue with his son Yosef and the hatred that emerged within the family itself, and far more severe issues than maybe he even experienced in the first swing of things, suddenly it appears upon him as if to tear away the dream of calmness. And at first glance, it appears almost capricious, God forbid. It appears cruel that Yaakov asks for one thing. He asks for calmness. He wants to be calm in this world. He wants to live a simple life of tamimus and connectivity without the issues, without the struggle. And at that moment, in response to his desire, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives him the very opposite. But as we've spoken about in the past, it's not like that. Externally, it looks like Hashem is not giving him his answer, but internally, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, God is giving Yaakov his answer. Yaakov Avinu wants to learn how to live a life of calmness. So Hashem says, if you want to learn how to live a life of calmness, you can only do that under the circumstances and the conditions of the waves of the sea, of the chaos of this world, of the rugza of Yosef, of the rage and the anger and the human tendencies and all of those things that we have to learn how to overcome by way of iskafia and ishafcha and refining ourselves and transforming ourselves. It's only under the crucible of difficulty and containment and concealment and encounter with darkness and encounter with the tzimtzum itself that we'll be able to finally reveal the illumination of God that comes about from within concealment itself. It cannot be done without first and foremost facing the concealment, because the concealment holds the recipe and the secret for the deepest illumination of light. And therefore, it is not that Hashem didn't want Yaakov Avinu to have calmness. Hashem wanted Yaakov Avinu to have calmness. And therefore, he said, learn how to find calmness under these conditions, because when you learn how to find calmness under these conditions, then there's not going to be any place that you can't be calm. Because if you cultivate a state of calmness when the conditions are in accordance to your understanding or your assumptions about yourself and about the world and about your role in this world, so then that's a limited form of comfort. It's a comfort that's dependent. In any moment that my circumstances in life shift away from those predetermined states that I need, so then I fall into anger. But if I learn how to uncover calmness and joy in the opposite conditions, in the places where I don't have an easy joy, but I cultivate it and I build it, so then I have an ahava she'ina tului b'davar. Then I understand the secret of a love that is independent of all things. And al kol psha'im techaseh ahava. And love covers over all inequity, and love covers over all difficulty. And in the life of a chassid, in the life of someone who's connected to the waters of the Baal Shem Tov HaKadosh, through the lens of the Balatanya, which is the light of Mashiach Tzidkenu, the redemptive Torah that helps us break free from our concealment, to leave the jail cells of ourself. So life becomes far more about finding HaKadosh Baruch Hu, finding the light of God in whatever it is that's happening in my life, and not having these determinant demands about how things are going to go, rather than demanding that things go a certain way. As program describes, that in the end of the day, there's a simple equation that represents the transition from addiction into a state of recovery. First and foremost, addiction is marked by the sense that the more expectations I have, the more resentments I'm going to have. The more I need from the world, the more I expect the world to give me, the more I expect from other people, the more opportunities I'm going to have to be disappointed with the fact that other people are not fulfilling my desire, because my desire continues to be the driving principle, and that creates frustration and anger, which creates loneliness and isolation, which creates madness and sadness, and that's what eventually leads a person along the path towards self-destruction, God forbid. But the second stage of thinking is that more acceptance, more serenity, that when I make room for that which takes place to take place, rather than trying to impose the space of my desires upon reality, but I let HaKadosh Baruch Hu be the makom, and I stop trying to be the makom. I let Hashem run the world, rather than me running the world in accordance with my best assumptions of what I need for myself. I thought I knew what I needed for myself, but ultimately it turns out that I have no idea whatsoever. And in that place, there's a secret of more acceptance leads to more serenity. And this is the path of recovery. This is the path of Hasidus, to stop trying to impose our own will on reality and encounter all of the deficiencies, but rather to allow each and every moment of our encounter with reality to be the place in which we find HaKadosh Baruch Hu. B'chol derachecha de'ehu. I come to know you in all of my ways. Each and every step along the path of my life, whether it's bringing me up, down, middle, left, right, wherever I find myself, confused, confounded, aware, conscious, no matter what, every step is bringing me closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because I don't know anything. And if this is what you want from me, then this is what you want from me. And my job is to nullify myself in the face of your will and to learn how to attune my will to your will. And in that way, I'm going to come to become a vessel and a receptacle and a messenger for the infinite light of God that shines through the particularized personality that only I as an individual represent. And that's true for each and every person. And this is explicit in a teaching that I saw today from the Admor Hazaken, from the first Rebbe of Lubavitch, from Rav Shneir Zalman of Liadi, a master of this territory, a master of what it means to be a human being, a master of what it means to help people be better human beings and give them direction as to how to be a human being. Someone who had the shoulders wide enough to understand that Eis Lasos Lashem Hifr Sorasecha, I need to create the path, I need to create the map, I need to give them the entrance back into the garden, which are the 53 prakim of Tanya, which is the gematria of Gan. It's the entrance into the garden of our minds. And those 53 chapters of Tanya correspond to the 53 days that the Baal Tanya was in jail, because it's only in correspondence to the 53 vessels of concealment that he was capable of revealing 53 chapters of light. Because as we said, it's only in correspondence to our encounter with concealment and the breakdown of our will that we come to uncover the secret of making our will like his will and illuminating the darkness with light. And I'm going to read this teaching without reading the Hebrew of it. I'm going to read it and translate it as I go along, without reading the Hebrew, just so that we have a full semblance of the idea. And I think the teaching speaks for itself in terms of what's taking place on Yud-Tes Kislev and recovery in this week's Parsha when Yaakov Avinu wants to find calmness. And it's really a reorientation towards how one looks at themselves and their roles in this life. So this is a teaching in Mamre Admor Hazaken HaKetzerim, the short teachings, and this is on page 483. The Baal HaTanya says as follows. V'hinei al masa v'matan, I'm sorry, when it comes to the professional life of the individual or other matters in their lives, the pasuk says a person has no idea what they're doing, and a person has no idea what God has done from the beginning toward the end. Meaning we don't know. We don't know why we do what we do. We don't know why our lives have taken us in the directions that it's taken us. Because the world functions in such a level of concealment that a person has no idea what they're doing in this world. And yes, it's true that Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai used to try and understand the inner purpose behind the psukim. And it's possible that if Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was alive today, he would also give us a reason for everything that's going on in our lives, in terms of our professional lives and our practical lives, why this is happening and why that's happening. And he would be able to show us that everything is in the hands of heaven. But in truth, the truth of the matter is that God has done this on purpose. God does not want the individual to know anything. God does not want the individual to know what's taking place in their lives. As Rabbi Nassan said, that I can give Torah on anything except where a person is holding, except where I'm holding. Hashem doesn't want us to know. In truth, Hashem created the world in such a way that we wouldn't know anything. Shelo yodea ha'adam klum. Because in truth, as a result of not knowing anything, each and every person is forced to enter into a posture of faith, which is that I don't know anything and I have to believe that everything is in the hands of heaven. Because if a person knew with absolute clarity what the desire of God and the intention of God was for him, so then each and every person would chase after that the entirety of their lives, specifically and directly after the desire that God has from them and what the person needs to accomplish. And this would have been the only purpose behind the intentionality of the individual their entire lives. It would be singular focused on the clear vision. But now, because we don't know anything at all and we're forced to believe that everything is in the hands of heaven. And there are certain times where it appears to me that this is the intention of God, because certain times this is the way things go. And then there's going to be other times where I don't have the ability to find that place in my mind or in my knowledge to find Hashem, and I have to just take my mind away from myself and act without reason and act like an animal who follows instructions rather than trying to understand. And I just do whatever it is that's in front of me, and I believe that this is in the hands of heaven. I don't try and clarify for myself in my mind the purpose of something happening. I just do whatever arises in front of me. If it's there, it's what I have to do. Because I have no seichel, I have no mind, I have no idea what to do. There's no possibility of knowing. And therefore, all I can know from the beginning to the end is that I don't know, and I have to just do what it is that's right in front of me. To the point that there's certain times in my life that I may look at myself and see that, wow, I'm a truly righteous person, and I'll be able to find all sorts of proofs about this to make me feel self-righteous. And then in the next moment, it's very possible that a person can cultivate the imagination of themselves as a truly wicked person, and we'll also be able to find proofs for ourselves. All of this was created by God in a profound level of wisdom, all so that the individual should not know what is going on in this world, all for the reason that we said above, which is that because we don't know, we have to have emunah. The Baal HaTanya is saying, as I understand it, that there could have been a way of living a life where we knew what we had to do, where we knew the next step in front of us, where we knew the directionality and the intentions behind everything, and what our purpose was. As the Vilna Gaon says, that it used to be a person could go to a Navi, and the Navi would say, this is exactly what you have to do, and a person would know exactly what to do. The Gra says that in his commentary on Mishlei. But as we descend down away from a place of nevuah, where we don't know anything at all, a person is left struggling to try and make reason out of anything. And in the absence of reason, in the breakdown of reason, the only thing that remains is the emunah, the faith that everything has a purpose. I don't know anything, Hashem. The moment I try and rationally understand anything, the game is over. I know that I don't know, and therefore I have the power to believe in something beyond knowledge. And sometimes I'm up here, and sometimes I'm down there, and sometimes I understand why this is happening, and sometimes I have no idea. But ultimately, the singular truth that I have is that it's all from you, God. It's all from you. It is all included within the unfathomability of the depth of the infinite will that you send down into Metzias to create the path of my life. And when a person begins to look at their life from morning to night in that way, with that lens of bittul, with the opening point of realizing that I don't know anything, I'm powerless, I have no idea, then each and every step of a person's life is going to be the destination. Wherever I go, there I am. I have no intentionality. I know what the framework of my schedule looks like. I have expectations from myself, absolutely, but those are plans, but not demands. When I wake up in the morning, I say, Hashem, you're in charge. You're in control. I have absolutely no control over anything. With that being said, here's what I hope to accomplish today in accordance with my humble understanding of your will, God. But at the end, I'm fundamentally aware of the fact that things might be otherwise and things might not go that way, and I'm okay if they don't go that way. And that way, a person is planned properly, planned for the outcome of their day, but at the same point has opened up their hands without a firm grasp, because now we realize that if it goes otherwise, it goes otherwise, and that's okay also. That's the secret of recovery. That's the secret of mindful awareness of the fact that wherever I go, there I am. Wherever I am is where Hashem is found. And through that process, a person comes to transform the entirety of their lives, the knowns and the unknowns, into an encounter with God, into an encounter with leaning into the fact that I don't know and allowing myself to be swallowed up by the unknowingness of it, and to cultivate the only thing I can, which is the faith, a calm faith in this moment itself, to uncover more and more light, more and more recovery, more and more illumination, more and more freedom of self, Be'ezras Hashem.